Hello again and welcome to the 22 February 2019 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guests today are John Shea, who's the Executive Director of the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission, and Bob Andrews, who's a member of the board of the AIPC and is also the chair of the West Side Development Advisory Group. That's quite a mouthful, that's why I had to read it, guys. But welcome to the show. I mean, you guys are doing a lot of great work, and we want to hear about some of that today. It's been a while since we heard from the AIPC, probably a couple of years, and I just I'm looking forward to getting an update on what you guys are doing, and from your website, it looks like you're doing a lot. So
we are.
Before we get into the AIPC's business and all the issues surrounding Aquidneck Island, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your backgrounds and then how you came to be where you are today. Let me start with you, John.
Sure. Well, thank you, Doug, and thanks for having us on, of course. My name is John Shea. I'm the Executive Director of the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission. I started in this role about 10 months ago. I come here from New Hampshire, where I headed a fiscal policy think tank for about a year and a half. Prior to that, I had served as head of policy and economic advisor to the government of the Falkland Islands. So I worked overseas, and prior to that, I had my own company that promoted Chinese and European investment in clean energy and renewable projects in New England. But really, I spent the bulk of my career, over 2 decades, at the New England Governors Conference, which was a regional governors organization, policy institution, where we did a lot of really incredible work. I'm very proud of what we accomplished there, and I'm hoping to bring those types of things to the island because we are a region here as well. And a good example of that is we did the first ever multi-jurisdictional climate change action plan with the Canadian provinces, and that has been used as a model throughout the world for action in those areas. So I'm just again, thrilled to be down in Aquidneck Island. I've only been here 10 months, as I said, but looking forward to being here.
You feel like you're downsizing because we're awful small compared to those.
Given the amount of noise here from all the jurisdictions, I think I'm almost upgrading. But it's a little bit smaller, but still, same principles remain the same.
Yeah. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome to the island.
Thank you very much.
Let me turn to Bob, my old friend from the Economic Development Committee. Bob, could you talk a little bit about your background? You've had a lot to do with the island since you retired, you know.
Thanks, Doug. Yes, I am retired, and it's very hard to follow up on such a great resume of John's, but you can see why it's so important that we have him as the Executive Director of the AIPC. I am retired. I'm the former owner of the Newport Dinner Train, of which I owned the dinner train for a little over 19 years. And during that course of time riding the rails, I actually rode the rails possibly over 2,000 times.
Wow.
So I got to know the West Side pretty well.
Yeah, I guess.
At the present time, I am the chairman of the new West Side Development Advisory Group, and I am the newest member of the board of the AIPC.
Okay, well, congratulations on that. I think it's a good match, though.
We think so too.
You know, and this guy knows the local stuff. So
yeah, that's exactly right.
He's a great guy to have on board. Let's talk about the organization itself, AIPC, and the very basic stuff, like what is the purpose of the organization, what's your kind of mission, and how are you organized and funded to do this?
Well, sure. Our mission at the AIPC is really to create a sustainable and more prosperous future for everybody on the island, and we do that by working with the 3 communities and Navy-based Newport to look at areas that need to be addressed, whether they relate to housing, economic development, preserving our natural places, clean water, and the list goes on, but areas where the communities can work together, again, to build that island community that makes this place continue to be a wonderful place to live, work, raise a family, and have some fun every once in a while. So that's essentially our mission. In terms of how we're structured, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We were formed in 1984. The 3 municipalities, Middletown, Newport, and Portsmouth, each appoint 4 board members to the council to appoint 4 board members to our board. They're the voting members. We also have representation from Navy-based Newport and the Newport County Chamber of Commerce. And we, from each town, we have a member of the council as a liaison. So we are very closely linked into not just the councils, but the priorities of each town and city on the island. In terms of our funding sources, we principally have received funding from the Van Buren Charitable Foundation over the last several years to support operational activities. We also receive annual payments, dues from the 3 communities on the island. That's a lesser amount, but it's very valuable in terms of our operational activities. And we also receive part of our funding through our grant work. For example, we currently are working 2 major grants from the Rhode Island DEM and US EPA, and that provides some operational support as well. So that's really the basis of how we're funded.
Who is the town council rep from Portsmouth right now?
Linda Ujafusa.
Linda Ujafusa, okay.
Yes.
She's a good lady.
She's wonderful.
She does a good job.
And who are the other Portsmouth members?
That's Sarah Chergin, who is our chair.
Chair, yeah.
And we have Keith Hamilton, Keith Humphreys, I'm
Keith
sorry. I mix the
Humphreys.
two up
Yeah.
all the time.
Another great guy.
They
He's
are
been
both
on
great
here.
guys. And Kate Peters from, she's with the DOT. And
Okay.
she also is a Portsmouth resident. And I'm always missing somebody. And so let me...
Well, you'd be the
Oh,
fourth, right?
I'd be the 4th.
Bob would be the... Sorry, Bob. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bob's kind of new.
You know, one of the problems for us laymen or whatever, that, you know, we read stuff in the paper every once in a while, but your organization, but there are others like Newport Chamber, and a bunch of spin-offs from that even, they're all alphabet names, and we see them in the paper. And how do you interact with all those guys? Connect Greater Newport, and we'll hear more about the West Side Development Advisory Group and how that's evolved. But I mean, how do you guys work together? Or?
We work together not only very closely, but very well. We see it as a partnership in building the island's future. Everybody has a somewhat different perspective. I think the AIPC is unique because we represent everybody on the island. We're not just the business community or not just the environmental community or what have you. So we bring together all those different voices to try to craft a better future for the island. And so, for example, we work with Clean Ocean Access on a number of environmental projects. We work with Aquidneck Land Trust on open space issues. And Connect Greater Newport is very much engaged in a lot of our projects. In fact, Ashley Medeiros, the representative here, sits as a representative on our
She was
board.
on the show a few weeks ago.
And she is on our board, representing Newport Chamber,
Good, very nice,
County
very
Chamber.
nice guy.
Wonderful person, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, so you're sort of involved in everything, and you got
Yes.
the big picture more or less, which is probably a great place to be. And I wish you good luck on trying to pursue all these things. It's got to be like, you know, stamping out bugs or something, trying to get the grants, try to keep things moving.
Yeah. Well, one challenge we have, of course, is that we don't have just one focus, like coastal issues or
Yeah.
renewable energy. We pretty much cover everything that is of interest to all 3 communities and where we can add benefit. So our focuses do tend to move around a bit.
Now, why don't we talk about, and speaking of this, why don't we talk about some of the projects that you've got
Sure.
going on?
Sure.
You've got a good website that talks a lot about this stuff. One of the things it had that I thought was great was a letter from you
Yes.
on the website, kind of explaining the overview of AIPC. What are some of the key ones you have that you're working on now or that are coming up?
Sure, and I'm gonna leave West Side Master
Yeah,
Plan to
and
last
then
because
Bob can-
that's kind of the big one, and I also want to put in a plug for Claire Nelson, our new communications manager. She's the one that's updated and keeps track of our website, and she's
Okay.
done a fantastic job. So I thank her for that. Well, we have a number of things going on right now, as you can imagine. Probably our biggest project is something called Island Waters, and it looks at impaired water bodies and stormwater runoff on Aquidneck Island with projects in all 3 communities. Again, this is an island-wide issue. It's a shared water table. It's a shared problem, and that's exactly where we fit in. And that project has brought in roughly $1.3 million, most of which goes to stormwater mitigation, natural infrastructure improvements that communities or business owners would otherwise have to pay for. So we're bringing that benefit to the communities. They're saving them considerable amounts of money and doing work that they're required to do. That project has been ongoing for about 2.5 years now. We've gone through the design and engineering stage. We're now entering the implementation stage, and next month or 2 we'll be breaking ground on a number of sites. We also hope that to continue that work to get to other impaired waters on the island that we're not able to get to in phase 1. So we see this as something continuing for a while.
Sure.
And we'll have a monitoring function and a reporting function, and it's really just it's a wonderful project for the island, ensuring clean water for our residents. And I encourage people to go to our website and look up the Status of Island Waters report, which is very informative, and it's a really nice read. So that's one very big area we're engaged in. We're also very interested in talking to municipalities about the concept of green municipal aggregation, which is an option for municipalities to endorse a greener default offer for their residents' electric bills. And what that means is you not only get people at Portsmouth buying greener and cleaner electricity that helps support green projects, not only on the island, but throughout Rhode Island, southern New England, so it's local energy, but they also pay less than they would from the current national grid default price because they're aggregating their demand. So it's kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah.
We're very interested in that.
Now, how do you relate to some of the solar fields we've seen going up, or even the wind turbine?
Well, we don't have a direct connection with them in terms of the AIPC. We did solarize Aquidneck, which was a program a few years ago that we did to increase the use of solar power on homes around the island.
Yeah, that was you guys, huh?
That was us,
Wow.
and
Great.
that was very successful. We're also looking into things like community solar, which it gives the opportunity for people that don't own their own homes, say live in an apartment building, to benefit from solar power and reduce costs of their electricity by essentially owning a solar panel in a farm. But that farm would be in a parking lot or in an unused field or something like that. So one of the issues we face with both solar and wind is siting and making sure that where those facilities go up is appropriate and not something that's a negative to the environment or to the community, whether it's tourism or a line of sight or whatever.
Yeah.
But beyond that, beyond what we're doing on renewable energy, we have a couple of civic engagement forums coming up. We're very active in getting the communities involved in government and the issues that we're facing. On March 15th, we're doing a Smart Island event on housing. That will be at CCRI in Newport. And that will focus on, well, just too many issues to name. Hopefully we can do a full program on it Sunday that are facing the island, whether it's affordable housing, workforce housing, issues about Airbnbs, dark houses, aging in place, aging in communities. So basically everybody, business owners, residents, retirees, they have a stake in this discussion, and we look forward to engaging with them on March 15th. We are partnering for that event with Connect Greater Newport and Housing Works RI, and we are very pleased to be sponsored by a number of organizations, including Bank Newport, AARP of Rhode Island, the Newport County Contractors Association, and Discover Newport, as well as others. So that's going to be a wonderful event. I got to let people know we're near capacity right now, so hopefully folks can still get in. We have our annual legislative forum coming up on April 11th as well. And what that does is it brings our state representatives and senators together in a kind of question and answer session where they can state their priorities to voters and residents in turn can let them know what their priorities are for the current legislative session and ask them any questions they have. And that's been a really enjoyable and fun event over the last few years.
Now where do you hold these at? Like the housing?
This will probably be at CCRI too.
Okay,
Yeah.
Both at CCRI down in Newport.
Down in Newport,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good place to hold it.
It's wonderful, and they're a big supporter of ours, and we thank them for their sponsorship as well.
Yeah, I think too when you read into things on your website, this whole issue of wastewater management or not wastewater, stormwater. You know, people need to realize that basically that's where our water comes from. That's
Yes.
where our drinking water comes from.
Yeah, and you know, there are different types of contaminants in that whole water system, whether it's, you know, there are a lot of geese around here and other farm animals that contribute to certain types of bacteria in our waters. There's sometimes sewage running off in certain areas, and of course there are a lot of things like pesticides that are in ground or other contaminants. It could be petroleum products that have leached into the ground.
Yeah,
and so all these things, you know, obviously you have to be aware of and you have to be able to address, and we're doing that through natural infrastructure. So that's the other positive.
Yeah, that's great. Those are probably the ones you're most focused on, are the ones that are coming up here.
Yeah, and there are a few others, but I really wanted to leave enough time to talk about the West Side Master
Well,
Plan.
yeah, because that's a big one, I think.
a very big one.
And I'm delighted that this guy's kind of honcho on that for Portsmouth. Let's go back, Bob. When did this thing start? It seems like we've been talking about the West Side Master Plan for so long.
We sure have, and as a matter of fact, when you and I were together on the Economic Development Commission, we were working on the West Side then.
Yeah.
But very basically, everything started in terms of the West Side coming to fruition when the Navy bracked the land in the mid-'90s. At that stage of the game, the AIPC stepped in and got some grants because we realized the importance of the West Side to the future of the entire island, not just Portsmouth. The AIPC proceeded then to get grants. They commenced the study starting in 2000, of which the entire island was involved, all types of public meetings, all types of opinions.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then by 2005, they came out with a phenomenal West Side Master Plan. At the same time with the West Side Master Plan, the economy started to go south, and not a whole lot had been done. So now we had a tank farm advisory group, and we began to realize that we were basically going nowhere. So back in February of 2018, a year ago, we went before the council, and we asked the council to go to the federal government, the Navy, to ask for a document of public sale on tank farms 1 and 2. We felt this was our best opportunity to get that land on the tax rolls. With that, the council approved our request, and they did go to the federal government, and we are now waiting to hear from them.
Okay, those are the tank farms near Melville?
Yes,
Is that-
yes.
Okay.
Tank farms 1 and 2. With Stringham Road on the right side is 1, on the left side is 2 heading down. And so as we started to look at things, and once we put our request in to the Navy, the function of the Tank Farm Development Advisory Committee was basically nil. We were waiting for an answer. With that, we started to look at the draft plan of our comprehensive community plan, and we began to realize a lot of things. Number one, the population of Portsmouth is expected to grow by only 2.3% over the next 20 years. More importantly is our tax base ratio. Presently, residential homeowners are paying 88.5% of the tax. Commercial is paying 11.5%. We need to change that.
Yeah.
There's only one area that we can do that, and that's the West Side. The West Side truly is the crown jewel of the entire island. More importantly, the marine trades industry is very important. We went to a planners forum a couple weeks ago, and Middletown was there, and I asked the town planner what the tax ratio in Middletown was versus Portsmouth. I was aghast. The residential tax base is 60% and the commercial tax base is 40%. Don't choke on that.
Yeah, really, no, that is kind of strange, but again, think about it though. Middletown is where you shop. I mean,
Yeah.
True.
so they have probably more business, but in Portsmouth, aren't the individuals and businesses taxed at the same rate as well?
That is correct.
Is that the same in the other communities?
No, it is not. It is different, actually. But what we need to do is we've got to give some tax relief to the residential homeowners. One of the areas that we have been able to do some of that is under recreational residential with the people that won't have second and third homes in Portsmouth. But the true thing is that we have an opportunity to expand the marine trades industry on the West Side, or we have an opportunity to expand the recreational resort tourism area, and we also have the opportunity to establish a true marina village concept. But one of our biggest problems, particularly with tank farms 1 and 2, when we do get the document of public sale and we have business people coming to look at it, is the infrastructure.
Yeah.
You can't do anything without an infrastructure. We need water, we need a wastewater treatment facility. This is where the West Side Master Plan comes in. This is where we need the help to do the study. We need to get the funding. We need to find out what it's going to take to improve that infrastructure so that we can grow. There is so much land available. Tank farms 1 and 2 represent almost 200 acres of land.
Wow.
Not all of it is usable, but just think about the opportunity. And then the Weaver Cove Marina Complex was just sold. That represents 44 acres. Originally, that plan called for a marina and approximately 895 condominiums. The backyard is almost ready to go for the marine trades industry to grow. We have so much potential. All we've got to do is release it, and we've got to come up with the answers. For the first time, I'm encouraged. I think we're getting closer to the point where if we can get this study done, learn what we have to do to make it right, and then have the people come in and say, now you've got something.
Well, I'm encouraged that you're encouraged, because I've been watching this so long, and I've seen so many people trying to push this thing forward, and I'm delighted that it finally looks like it, might have a major impact here.
I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Now, but let me ask you: has the Navy actually given up that land? I mean, aren't there issues like that, or?
No, the Navy has not given up the land. They're still doing work on the land. Our opinion is if when they do allow us to have the document of public sale, which it will be the Navy that's actually selling the land.
Right.
But the town of Portsmouth will have the final say in terms of the zoning and whatever.
Right.
And that's really important. That's what
Yeah,
we need to do.
I mean, some of the issues include maintenance of Burma Road and things like that.
That's the key. Burma Road is deteriorating. Stringham Road is deteriorating. Underneath that road are the pipes.
Yeah.
So therefore, we need to do that study to see what needs to be done. How much is it going to cost to do the proper repairs?
Yeah.
This is why the legislative forum that we're going to have in April is going to be critically important. We hope that we can put enough documentation together to appeal to our state and local legislators to realize the importance of the West Side.
Yeah. You got me convinced. I've been convinced for 10 years, but and I'm sure guys like Jim Seveny and those folks will realize, already do, the value of what you guys are doing down there. So just keep it up and keep us cut in and keep the public cut in by coming on the show every once in a while.
Yeah.
Both of you guys should look at that as a...
And definitely, we're happy as we go forward with this process to come back on, of course. We recognize this, the disposition of the West Side is the future of the island, and we plan as we go forward with this process to engage every man, woman, and child on the island in this discussion. This has to be something that we decide the future together, and it's not a look back, a retrospective of what's been done necessarily. It's a look forward. It's the vision for the future and how to best utilize the West Side, not just for economic development, but for housing, for open spaces, for livable communities. So it will be the project of the next decade here, I think.
Yeah, I know we lost the guy that was going to build a marina down there, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much opportunity down there. We have a beautiful island.
It's incredible.
Well, what we intend to do there also is have meetings with all of the stakeholders down there, including the people who just bought the Weaver Cove Marine property, Marshall Properties. And we hope to have good, intelligent conversations with them and see what their plans are, and hopefully they might fit in with our thinking as well.
Yeah, and I think the marine trades could definitely expand. I mean, there's so much market for that stuff now.
Truly, Doug, our goal is to make Portsmouth the marine trades capital of New England.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal. I think we could do it with guys like you there. Keep plugging. Let me ask you about a couple other older projects, I think. At one point you guys did the transportation study, I think. And that just seems to me, at least, to be another one of those things that you come up with this study, published it, and then what's happened, I mean, is there any sense of possibly resurrecting some of that stuff with the DOT and the rest of these guys?
Well, certainly we've been active in the release of the TIP recently, and that's the Transportation Implementation Plan, and the changes that occurred in that over the last few years, and what the DOT originally had specified and what now is indicated as where they'll spend the money and where they'll invest the money. That's an area of concern. We're planning a response. I know know communities like Portsmouth have weighed in on those issues, and we're fully supportive of the communities. In terms of the old transportation plan, it was a little before my time, but of course we'll also include that and transportation components when we look at the West Side development as well, because that's critical to our transportation network. But beyond that, it's a little difficult for me to speak to because I just was not here at the time.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, Doug, is the original West Side Master Plan was addressing Stringham and Burma roads. In the West Side Master Plan that came out in 2005, they had determined that we couldn't just exist with just East Main and West Main roads, obviously.
Yeah.
So Stringham and Burma roads become critically important. In the West Side Plan, they changed the name to Shoreline Drive, which was a perfect name for
They
it.
did.
And but the only thing is, we only got to the point where, yes, Stringham Road is needed, but what is it going to cost to make it a shoreline drive?
Yeah.
And that's where we have to go right now.
Yeah, money's always an issue. You know, it's always an issue, particularly with things like housing and the rest of this stuff. I know you also completed this open space mapping thing, and I was quite surprised when I went on that part of your website that the large bulk of open space in the island is in Portsmouth. I mean, like way beyond what anybody else is. Of course, that's probably a function of our farms, I guess, things like that.
Definitely, and that we're also part of the Newport Open Space Partnership. We engage with that as well. Unfortunately, my colleague Allison McNally, who's wonderful, is not here to speak to it. She's the one that represents us, so it's not really, I couldn't add too much to that.
Yeah. The other one that's a perennial, I don't know, topic at least, is the issue of technology, broadband technology specifically. Is there any movement anywhere to do anything about this at all?
There definitely is, and again, we are lucky to have Allison on staff. She is our broadband expert. She's been working with Connect Greater Newport and Ocean and other organizations in a kind of loose federation of people on the island, including some of our legislators who are interested in basically not just upgrading but establishing a high-speed broadband network for the island, and doing so in a way that's affordable. And so I think that could be a subject of an entire program for you, but I think Allison would be a wonderful guest on that.
You know, you guys do so much. Are there any opportunities for volunteers? Do you ever need volunteers, for example?
Yeah, there definitely have been opportunities for volunteers. We've used volunteers in the past. We will be using volunteers again in the future. Just right now, we're in a page where we're essentially switching programmatic initiatives, and so once we have something, we will certainly, through our website and through direct engagement in our Smart Island events and other things, you know, engage community volunteers in the work we're doing. We're planning an Island Indicators project, which would be very interesting, and that's something that will probably engage a lot of student volunteers as well from Salve and local universities.
Yeah. So I guess people can go on your website, look about
Yes.
what you're doing, and you guys will be advertising in that when you need volunteers.
And definitely just always feel free. We're there to serve the community, so call me, email me, whatever. I'm always accessible.
Thanks. We're just about out of time, guys, but thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, as always, but keep plugging. You know,
We will.
it's going to take time.
We will. Thank you very much for having us on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see all you folks next time on Portsmouth This Week. Just a note for planning purposes, mark your calendar on the 7th of March, which is a Thursday at 11 o'clock at the Town Hall. There's going to be another opportunity to view the original 1638 Portsmouth Compact, which is being brought down from Providence by our archivists. Come down and take a look at this historic document that's still legible. It's kind of amazing. That's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Thursday, 7 March, Portsmouth Town Hall. Hope to see you there.